Hi everyone, I'm Dan with Pay Down Debt Solutions. Welcome to our channel where we teach velocity banking and personal finance principles. Today I'm going to go over an example for you guys. This was a real life one. This person, their first initial was J, so we'll call him J. We're going to look at J's total income expenses. We're going to go through all the steps. And I'm going to even break it down month by month so you guys can do the calculations yourselves. And you're going to see how fast we can get the J out of debt. And real fast, I'm just going to turn the ring lights around. You guys won't get to see my beautiful face much anymore. But let's get through it. So remember, you're just not learning, but seeing this for the first time, and you guys want to know, hey, will velocity banking work for me? There's a quick calculation. Figure out your budget, figure out your total income, your total expenses, and then break it down to your non-chargeable and chargeable expenses. Of course, your non-chargeables are anything you cannot pay with a credit card. There's a few little variables, but pretty much always loans, your mortgage, other credit cards, sometimes lines of credit, oftentimes lines of credit, like a personal line of credit, HELOC, things like that. Those are included in that. And every once in a while you get an insurance or something like that. Really, you'd have to call to check to find out. Because you want your actual. You want to know what you can actually charge as your chargeable expenses. Because you can always pay cash on something. But to start your calculations, this is what you want. Total income, total expenses, non-chargeables, chargeable expenses. And that's how you can pay them, maybe not how you're paying them today. And then you just do this quick calculation. You figure out what's your available income. Your available income equals your total income minus your non-chargeable expenses. Figure out your available income. If your available income is equal to or greater than chargeable expenses, velocity banking will work for you automatically. If you got slightly negative, meaning your available income is a little less than your chargeable expenses, it may work for you depending on how large of a payment you might want to say for your debt destroyer. Now this one, because I took it from a sheet I actually helped Jay with, these are in the order I'm going to pay them off. Discover card is going to be the debt destroyer. And you can see it's got that biggest payment. So I always tell you, go after that biggest payment. Without having something like our calculator or our app to figure it out, go after the biggest payment. You can't go wrong. You really can't. And then do each subsequent, the next largest payment, so on and so forth, because each one increases you. Once you pay that highest payment debt off, that's that much more money. That payment goes away, it compounds, and it grows exponentially how much faster you'll pay off, and you'll see that in the time frames. So in this case, the available income equals the actuals 1,149. And then this is a concept a lot of people struggle with. We say we add back in the payment. And what that means is Discover is going to be our debt destroyer. Normally you're holding money in your checking account. You send $299 out. You're not going to be sending a separate payment now. You're going to be taking your available income and essentially making that, you're making that payment. Look at it as you're overpaying. You're going to make that payment as you transfer your available income onto that card. Because it is a payment, it's just a bigger payment, and then you're going to charge back, and you're going to work it down, and I'm going to show you the numbers, how it works down month by month. So for Jay, it worked out beautifully. I say that because not only was $299 their highest payment on the Discover card, it was also their highest percentage. So that's a nice one to knock out first, because these other cards, Jay will just continue making minimum payments on until they get this balance low enough and their credit gets repaired enough, they get a balance transfer and roll in one of those debts. Pay off the next highest payment debt, because as they're working this down, you're still paying the minimum, so it's going down, just not nearly as quickly as with velocity banking. Then you can bring it over. And of course, if it takes you 2-3 debts to get paid off before your credit's repaired enough to get a balance transfer, then what you would do is you'd work this Discover down until it's paid off. Then you go and switch all your auto pays, or let's say your stored payment method. That's what I have. I don't have auto pay for like my electric and my gas. They store my credit card payment or my credit card information, and I go in there and make a payment every month and just click, yeah, use that payment. However it works. If you don't have good enough credit, after paying off 1 or 2, that's what you do. Just pay it down to 0, transfer everything onto this card, work this card down to 0. So here we have available income, 1,149. That doesn't take into account, because these payments right here are included in these non-chargeable expenses, that 3,455. And because available income is the total expenses minus that, when you don't have to make that payment separately, that's when we say add it back in. So you add in that $299. So I ran out, I didn't leave myself any space here. So the available income in this example starts at $1,448. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. All right. So where do we start? We start discovers the debt destroyer. 14,600's the initial debt. So we start 14,600. What do? We make a payment. Now remember, this is an estimation, so these are averages. First, you're gonna build your budget with this information: total income, total expenses, non-chargeables, chargeables. That is for the month. Once you see that and you're like, okay, velocity banking works for me, and you decide, hey, I'm gonna do this. I wanna get out of debt faster. I wanna save an interest. I'm tired of this BS. Pardon my French acronyms. Anyway, you've had enough and you're ready to implement it. Now you've got to take your monthly budget and break it down paycheck to paycheck. If it's a 1 month paycheck, what the math I'm doing is it. People like Social Security, things like that, you're going to get that one payment a month and you're going to work from that. If you get paid weekly, you got to look week to week. And what you look at is from paycheck to paycheck, you don't have to look at all these numbers. Once you figure these out, pay attention to your budget, pay attention to your spending, whether you break it down weekly, daily. I've recommended before, I don't recommend a single app because they're so subjective. Most of them have free trials. I mean budgeting apps. Budgeting apps that link to your accounts, so they give you real-time feedback on your balances on things. Get one of those, and when I say the ones I saw all came with 7-day trials, they're all about $80 for a year, and then they also come with monthly subscription, like everything does these days. So do that for tracking. But once you do, that doesn't help you with your budget. So you built your monthly, now you're gonna go paycheck to paycheck. You don't have to worry about all this. All you worry about is from today, let's say it's today. Today's not Friday, but let's say you got paid today, right? How much in non-chargeables do you have to your next paycheck? Say it's 500 in non-chargeables. Great. But don't get carried away. What's the next week look like? How many non-chargeables in that next pay period? So the next one, because if you get a paycheck to paycheck period where like your mortgage is due or your rent's due, and maybe that payment is bigger than the paycheck that comes right before it, right? So say you got $2,000 due at the end of the month, you get a $1,600 paycheck right before that, that's not enough. You need 400 more. So you gotta go back and go, all right, from this paycheck, I need 400. I gotta hold it in my account for this next one. And now I don't wanna get too many, I could go on and on and on. I got a much older video where I get into it and I put the whole diagram up there and I explain step by step. Figure your budget out looking forward, then how much cash you need to keep on hand, because you don't have to manage all of this. Keep your spending under control, right? Stay on budget. We all have to do that. You have to manage how much cash you keep in your account to pay your non-chargeables. It sounds complicated. I promise you, it is complicated when you say all the words and you put it all together. When you're living it, it's really not. Once you get this far and you build this, and then you go, okay, I'm paid today, I'm paid a week from now, or I'm paid 2 weeks from now. Okay, what's my non-chargeables in this period? What's my next period of non-chargeables? Then you just figure out how to keep much hand. Basically what you've been doing, just a little different. Like if you always had that mortgage payment that was greater than your paycheck, you always knew you had to keep money from a previous paycheck. Same concept, different focus. Okay, let's get into it. Starting, discovers the debt destroyer for J, 14,600 is the starting balance. So the first thing that happens is the available income is going to go on it for the month, right? It's going to lower the average daily balance. We got lots of videos on that too, because loans calculate how much interest you owe based on how much longer you owe that money. Credit cards calculated on it's like a 0.000 number, really small. You can take your annual percentage rate, divide it by 100, then divide it by 365. That's how you get your daily interest rate. And obviously, it's basically dividing 21.49 divided by 36,500. So you know you're gonna get a very small number. That'll tell you how much interest your balance is costing you every day. So if your balance goes up one day 500, that next day, that average daily balance interest rate, you multiply by that. When it goes down, you go down. So your balance is going up and down, and every day it's doing a really small calculation, how much interest for that one day. Velocity Banking isn't a hack. Velocity Banking exploits that. It takes advantage of that average daily balance. So what it does is it immediately takes your 14,600. I say immediately like it's credit card. I'm sorry, not credit card, like it's Social Security, that one big lump payment. But for the month, every time you put money on it before the due date, right, before the grace period, you know, January 1st to January 31st, you make charges. You got 3 weeks in February to pay it back. But during that January period where you're charging, but you guys putting the money on before the payments due, you're keeping that average daily balance lower. You're lowering your interest. Every dollar with this system that you lower in interest is $1 more in principal paid down automatically just by moving your money this way. So let's keep going with the calculations. Starting balance. There's the available income for the month. There's the low balance for the month. But we also got charges. So we're going to put $846 in chargeable expenses back on. Right? And of course there's interest. There's always interest. But like I said, it's a lot less. And I didn't calculate out the percentage for you guys. You guys can always just, if you're at home looking at this one, do it yourselves. Just take this, plug it into any of the amortization. I say amortization, I'm sorry. Any of the online calculators that have an amortization schedule, meaning with the payment you're currently paying, you plug all your numbers in, your payment, your balance, and your APR, it'll tell you and show you month by month how fast you'll pay that down and how much of each payment is actually interest. Then you can do this calculation. You don't have to carry it out the whole time. Just carry it out like I'm going to carry it out for like 6 months. Pretty simple calculations. You don't have to memorize them. You can just copy what I'm doing and plug your own numbers in. Your starting balance, your available income, your low balance for the month, your chargeable expenses, and next is the interest. Now the interest, you do have to calculate for Velocity Banking, not for your actual credit card. You can get that online. So for this, it's $248. So how do we get that? The way we do it is we take your high balance for the month, we add it to your low balance, and then we divide it by 2 to average them. Right? So in this case, it's 14,600. 13,152. So we got 752, 27, 752. I'm going to divide that by 2, which, oh, it's the math very good. 13,876, I think. 13,876. Actually, even I'm curious. I'm a little tired. I'm not sure my arithmetic's in my head's doing all that well. 27,752 divided by 2. Yep, 13,876. So there it is. There's a high balance for the month, low balance for the month. Add them together, divide by 2. That gives us the average for the month. You take that, and now before the number I told you was for average daily balance, we want to know the interest for a month. I'm always just going to tell you guys the shorthand. Take whatever your APR is. In this case, it's 21.49. Divided by 1,200. So you divide it by 100, because it's a percentage, so you divide it by 100, then you divide it by 12 to get your interest for a month. It's not perfect, these are estimations. You know, the bigger the numbers, the more accurate any estimation is. So when you divide that by 12, I'm not going to share a number with you, you get $248. So I'm going to show you how the magic happens. So 14,246. So in 1 month, we lowered the balance $364. Sorry, $354. $354. If we'd have just done this, if we just kept going and just making that $300 payment, we'd still be paying the maximum interest on that credit card for the month. Even if they paid extra money, they'd save just a little bit more. This is the same system you're using to handle various payments you have, various bills you have, just exponentially, like on steroids, because it's chipping away at that interest, that average daily balance hack chips away at that monthly interest charge. So I should just give it to you. Sorry, I didn't write it down in my notes. So what would the normal interest be? We got down to 248 by Velocity Banking. So I'll do that 21.49 divided by 1,200 equals times 14,600. $261 and change. So just by doing that, this system, just for this month, we flipped $13 from interest to principal being paid down. So this obviously, the more extra cash flow you had, the even better it works, right? You get paid down faster. But it doesn't matter. If you have zero cash flow, what other way, and I mean this not it sounds sarcastically. I'm sorry, that's just my voice. I mean this literally. If there is another way, no one's found it yet. If you think you found it, message me. And what I'm getting at is if you have zero cash flow, so you're unable to cut your expenses, you're unable, no more side hustles, right? Maybe you're zero cash flow with 2 side hustles. That's the only way I know to pay your debt down faster. Nothing else will pay it down as fast as velocity banking, especially with zero cash flow. 100% absolute. Because nothing else will hack your average daily balance to lower that interest to start flipping dollars from interest to paying down principal. So let's keep going. I want this to make it sound like a school lecture. I want to really show you how you guys can do this on your own. All right, so we start 14,246. And again, for the month, we got 1,448 in available income. All right, now we got 13,152 is our low balance. We bring in 846 in chargeable expenses. And now we got $242 in interest. So I'm only going to show you 6 months worth, so you're not going to see how fast it accelerates. But just like your debt, instead of like, normally when you're paying down credit card debt, it really looks like this. Like it goes way real slow curve before you get that balance down to zero. Velocity banking is more like this. And the interest does the same thing. So interest would normally be up high. Nope. Nice sharp curve. Remember, these are months. Months are years. Time's always your x-axis. Months are years, so you're drastically cutting off time. And if you switch this to interest over months, you can see how much more money you're saving. This shows you how much time you're saving, how much faster you pay down your debt. You make this line interest instead of balance, and you'll see how much money you're saving, how much more money you're saving over time. All right, so we're 2 months in. After 2 months, what do we got down to? 13,886. Not bad in just 2 months. All right, that was my example to calculate interest. You guys can always go back and pause it. So we're going to reset now. We're starting month 3 with 13,886. 1,448 of our available income on. Resetting our balance to 12,438. Again, what do we got? We got $846 in expenses. And now what's the interest? The interest is already down $235. So you can see we dropped $6, we dropped $7. It's just going to keep increasing. Not just because we're paying down the balance, because we're paying down the balance and we're hacking into that average daily balance. We're chipping it down with that by putting our available income on. So that resets it to 13,519. Again, same thing. You guys have got this, promise you. It only seems complicated because you're seeing it all at once. When you break this down to the parts you do on your own and you look at them individually, just like any big system, it's just made of smaller components. It's kind of like seeing the forest for the trees. Yeah, forest is intimidating. It's just trees. That's what this will be to you. 1,049. Sorry. Wrote my numbers down. We start month 4, 13,519. Then we minus. Take that available income off. Resets it to 12,071. Not reset. Sorry. Gives you our low balance for the month. All right, then we got to add back in that interest, 229, plus our expenses. I'm sorry, it's late here. I flipped my numbers. This is interest. That's chargeable expenses for the month, but I'm willing to bet you guys already caught that and you're following right along. 12,766. So this is the numbers, so you guys can plug your own numbers in, try it, and figure it out. But what this actually looked like for Jay. I did all this for him. And now if you're wondering what I'm holding, these are my notes. You can pause that. You're just going to see my notes of how I break it down month by month. This is the Excel spreadsheet we have that does the calculations for me, so I don't have to do them by hand every single time. So no tricks, nothing special. All right, so I'm going to erase these and I'm going to show you how the plan actually worked out. So traditionally, and now I don't use traditionally loosely, because in reality, once you paid a debt off, you'd probably take some of that money and use that on the other things. That's infinite possibilities for me trying to estimate. So if I look at just keep making this payment until it's gone, then you're simultaneously making this payment, you're not using any of your extra money. So this isn't just traditional, this is traditional and worst case scenario. To pay these off with these payments, not even adjusting them, not just constantly paying the minimum, just keeping these payments fixed. It's 9 years, 9 months, $71,516 in interest. This is just under $40,000 in debt. It'll cost $71,000 in interest on top of that. That's why that's why we teach velocity banking every day, is to avoid that hellscape, which many of us are still living in. Oh, I nodded like it was us. We're velocity banking. We're not living this anymore. We did live it. So that's how bad it is. If you guys actually went and did the numbers, it's not just bad, it's like nauseating just how much it is. Anyway, 9 years, 9 months, $71,516. That's the interest. They just kept making these payments. Not always the minimum, keeping it fixed. So even when this gets real low, still paying that $299. Even if their minimum payment dropped to $100, they're still paying $299. So it's not quite the apocalypse worst case scenario, but it's pretty close because it's an estimate. I got to start somewhere. Okay, so what does this look? Told Jay, Discover card is your debt destroyer. Worked out great. It's the highest payment and the highest interest rate card, so that's what you're knocking out first. So look, remember I said it's exponential. So once you start paying a debt off, once you get a debt paid off, and that payment with velocity banking just gets added to your available income because your non-chargeable expense, that you pay that $299 off, it comes off this. And because it's total income minus non-chargeable, well, that just got smaller, which means available income just got bigger. So what do we got? So one, Discover was the debt destroyer. So what'd they do? Starting balance, $14,600. Available income, $1,448. You saw chargeable expenses. I told you the interest to get it so you can do this monthly calculations is you take the APR divided by 1,200. I can tell you what the steps all mean. That's the shorthand. Whatever your interest is, divided by interest rate, divided by 1,200, that number is your interest for the month. It is based on 12 months, not there's 30 days in a month, 31 days, February's got 28. For that, you'd have to do every single day. If you really want to do every single day, please use an online calculator. Oh, unless you really love math. You really love math? I do it. I used to do it. I love doing the calculations. I know, there's something wrong with me. So let's see how fast it goes. So at 20 months, they've got this balance low enough now, continuing this minimum payment here on RA Visa. This balance drops low enough, and they've paid this down enough, they can pay off the RA Visa. RA is, I can't remember what it is, something Advantage Visa. Just for reference for anybody, if you see that interest rate and you like it. So at 20 months, pay off RA Visa. And continuing that payment, we estimate RA Visa to be about $8,933. And when you combine that balance with the Discover card balance at 20 months, it resets your debt destroyer, meaning your Discover, because you're going to balance transfer. Jay's credit was pretty good. So the only thing really hurting was credit utilization. Very high. Once they knock out that and these other ones have paid off, this Jay will jump over 700. If they don't start just sending balance transfers, Jay should be able to call and request and get one. And if not, like I said, Jay will just finish paying this off, then switch to the next one. Remember, as long as you're velocity banking, you're sticking on budget, you are always saving money. I'm just showing you the steps to save the most money doing it. Because I want people to think I like it. I like getting in that frame of mind, like, oh no, like I gotta do it, or I'm losing money. If it keeps you motivated, do it. But if it's stressing you out, just remind yourself, I'm still saving money, I'm just not saving as much. I'm still saving money, I'm just not saving as much. I vacillate, I go between the two. Sometimes I gotta say, I tell myself, well, we don't got to get into that. You know, you get it. We play little tricks on ourselves, keep ourselves motivated, especially, you know, when it's 20 months. And you saw it start out a little slow. I went through the slow months. By month 6, it's just accelerating. Like you can see that interest is dropping more and more and more month after month after month. So this balance, combined it where the Discover, the debt destroyer is in 20 months, resets the debt destroyer, meaning with a balance transfer, it pulls that transfer, 14,604. Now the available income. I touched on this before. It's going to increase $258. And why? We're eliminating that payment, lowering the non-chargeables for the month. And because it's total income minus non-chargeables and that number's smaller, available income goes up. So the available income here goes up $258 to $1,706. And you do it again, the calculations did before. You can see the numbers. You got your available income, you got your debt destroyer, still 21.49%, still 846 chargeable expenses. So all those numbers earlier, just start with a different one, plug in a start with a different balance to start initial balance, and then change your available income in those calculations, and you can keep going. So now we're at 31 months. I'm going to pay off the next one. Remember I said I did it in order because I took them off this sheet. I didn't take them how I received them. I'm going to pay off this Platinum Visa. I'm not going to write it all out. And the balance there, 31 months, $8,236. All right, so we balance transfer that over to our debt destroyer, where it's at 31 months after resetting it by doing a balance transfer. It's going to reset it to very close number, 14,699. Now our available income increases again, $233. So now we're up to $1,939. So you can see we started by adding back in that $299 Discover payment. 20 months, we got that RA Visa paid off, increased that available income $258. Just 11 months later, we increased it $233 because we just moved another balance over. Not debt free yet, but we are very, very close. So 4 at 32 months. Now, the only reason I have a 32 month is because there's a loan that comes off at 45 months for this person. It's not up here because the interest, there was no, the way I tried it 2 different ways. There was no way for me to start chunking it down and save more money than going after these first, even with 45 payments left initially. And also, sorry, 32 months. Oh, I'm sorry. We're only at 32 months. Oh my goodness, that's the tired. So 32 months, pay off the Citi MasterCard. It's after, while still paying the balance, the final bit down, because now you've taken all 3 credit cards. Those are all gone. You just got this final balance at 32 months. You're starting, that's your Discover card combined with your Citi MasterCard. So let's pay off Citi MasterCard. And that, at 32 months, will equal about $876. And I'll reset our debt destroyer for the final time, $14,697. And the available income went up $85. Get that payment back, so we don't have to make it to the Citi MasterCard anymore. It was $2,024. Then now, at 46 months, completely debt-free, and it coincides, coincidentally, with a loan they had that the final payment's at 45 months. Now, had it not been, say it was 145 months, we'd have gone from this, and then I would have started doing the calculations to chunk down that one loan Jay had. Wasn't necessary, got all the way through it. So what did this cost? Because obviously you're paying minimums, so you're still paying interest on these 3. You're velocity banking, so you're saving interest, but it's still costing you interest. Remember I had 248, 242, 235, 229. So what's the comparison? Now it seems like a long time, but compared to 9 years 9 months and $71,516 the traditional way. This way is 46 months, $15,760 in interest. And the way I look at it is this is what it costs you to Velocity Bank. We know how terrible it is, what it costs you, minimum payments on credit cards, how long it takes, how much interest. 9 years, 9 months, $71,516 versus 46 months, $15,760. So what they save? They saved just under 6 years. Savings, can't draw a G. 71 months. They saved $55,756 in interest. Remember, I started with apocalypse. Not the apocalypse scenario of traditional, but it's still, I consider it a high estimate. But that depends on you guys. How well you stick to your budget. I'm not saying how well you stick to this. This just becomes routine. And typically, I don't want pie in the sky anybody. Typically, people really start telling us they're seeing the results about 3-4 months because you start out slow, just like that graph. You know, the line's kind of horizontal, and then how fast it starts curving. Generally around 3 or 4 months, depending on the volume of debt, like how big the balances are and the interest rates. It really depends on everything. It's all the numbers. You see how they coincide when I showed you guys the arithmetic. But 3 to 4 months, people are like, hey, we're really starting to see it work. And it's generally in 6 to 10, 6 to 12, which is about 3 months. But usually it's less than that 3 to 4 month period where people go from, they start out fearful, as anyone would, because you're afraid of making a mistake and screw it up and cost you more money. That's quite possible. Watch all our videos. We have a link below. We have a course and an app, and the app does all the math for you. The course takes you step by step through all of this with all the warnings, how to build your budget, to do these calculations, and how to build your budget to figure out how much money to keep on hand from check to check, paycheck to paycheck. That's in the link. You can learn all this watching our videos. Everything in our course is, I don't want to say spread out across our videos, but it is in all our videos, everything on our channel. We don't hold anything back trying to sell the course, and we don't have secrets in the course that we don't share with you guys. We do this to help you guys. We do this to see you guys successful. That's why. Any questions? Info at Pay Down Debt Solutions. We also have a link on there now. You can get our organized sheets where you organize your income, you organize your bills and expenses, loans and credit cards, and it'll give you these numbers. It'll give you your non-chargeables, your chargeables, and then you can figure out your available income. So before you spend any money on a course or a budgeting app, you can see, well, you should do the budgeting app anyway if you can afford to. But before you lay out any money, you should know if it's going to work for you. Because just imagine if you spend money buying something, and then you do it and you're like, well, this won't even work for me. What am I buying here? Sorry, my brain flashed back like, has this ever happened to me? Yeah, it's happened to me at least twice in my life. I just can't think of what they were. Because they were quite a long time ago. And I learned and I just stopped buying things. All right. So velocity banking versus traditional. And this one, it's always big savings. But this is enormous savings. And that's just how it worked out for Jay. And they were so happy. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it. It's new to me. It's so much fun teaching someone that helps them make their lives more enjoyable. Like I could show up to a friend and I could bring a 6-pack and like I just made his evening better maybe. You know, we have a few beers. Yeah, like to teach them something that will make every day better, make their future look better and brighter. It's an awesome feeling. It really is. I can't thank you guys enough for watching. I'm Dan with Pay Down Debt Solutions. Always aligned, never alone. Don't let it all put together overwhelm you guys. Break it down piece by piece. Break it down from month to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Don't look at all the numbers. Worry about how much cash you have on hand for those cash-only expenses you got to pay out of your checking account. It's not as hard as it seems. I promise you. Thanks for watching.